It's a funny thing, this, with the willingness to be distracted. Yeah.
Does that strike you odd in the place that you're, for the most part, living now compared to before?
Say it again?
Does that strike you as an odd phenomenon, perhaps looking from a different vantage point now?
To be dedicated to being someone living a life? Or what did you...
No, to be so easily distracted.
If it seems weird, absolutely illogical. But, I mean, there are people everywhere, so I see it's happening. Yeah. But in seeing through the surrender, it's also seeing that a lot of it happens due to fear. But when the surrender is actually embraced totally, and there is willingness to whatever the price, then you also see that it's that fear is just like standing in front of a puddle being afraid to jump in, you know? As in there is nothing to be afraid of. We don't know that to start out with. Unless we might be so happy or so lucky to run into people where we can see that it's actually true, that there is nothing to be afraid of.
I don't think for myself it's that fear, that big fear on this end, you know, that, or even a fear of dying perhaps. It's the little fears from here to there to there. You know, does that make sense? It's the little daily fears. It's the showing up and being honest in whatever moment that pushes the buttons. Those little fears, not the, like, on some level I think that there's a trust that what you say is true, that it is just a little puddle and you step in. I think that's not quite the big pull, but maybe it doesn't even matter because there's still all this other fear, you know, that just gets me stopped up from stepping forward or stepping into more presence.
Self-honesty.
What's that?
Self-honesty.
Yeah.
A very, very
Lack
significant.
Of being honest, maybe, in the moment.
Self-honesty is a very, very significant aspect of dying to truth. But again, it requires the listening. Without the listening, there is no self-honesty. Vulnerability is a funny thing. So on one hand, you could say that the recognition of truth is to happen as the absolute impenetrable. But in terms of the integration of reality, the absolute vulnerability is the key. And we don't allow the full vulnerability. It's the same as insisting on something again just a happening out of fear. Fear of pain.
Can you talk me through this one? What about responsibility to others? Where that comes with a bunch of concepts and constructs. I don't know that it's fear or pain, but relinquishing responsibility is an obstacle to it. But I don't know if the responsibility isn't imaginary. It comes with job, and so that requires lots of time and attention and thought and, maintaining that whole structure. And I'm obviously not willing to give up my job because then I don't know how I would support myself. But there's a nagging voice that says, it doesn't have to be this way, you don't have to be stuck here. But I can't see my way through it.
What if your taking of responsibility is happening towards the wrong thing? What if the responsibility you need to take is the responsibility for yourself totally as truth?
Well, I'll just get specific. I'm an instructor at a college, so I have to present certain material. I have to convey a curriculum that's mandated by the state, and then there's certain bigger structures that are telling me what I have to do.
No.
But the only way I see out of it is to not be in that position. But I don't know how, then that's like diving off the deep end and I don't know what the hell comes next.
That's wonderful. I'm happy for you. To do actions based on survival is the same as living in a lack of trust. When we choose to trust life instead, when you choose to trust yourself instead, I mean, life doesn't, when you give up your freedom for safety, then that's exactly the price that you pay. When you choose to take responsibility for yourself, you choose to take responsibility for your freedom. And then that would choose to serve you in one way or another. It's just obvious that it's not serving you anymore. And since it's not serving you, it's very easy. Let go. Because it doesn't come down to what you do to survive. It comes down to what life can get out of you when you stop securing yourself against it.
What life can get out of you.
What life can get out of you. When you are in a position of needing to surrender As long as you stay there for your survival, you have your little space to roam in. If you jump off that cliff, life will come and push you forward, and you will have to surrender. But it doesn't work the other way around. We don't stand on the cliff asking life to give us the security because we're afraid of jumping. We jump and then life catches us. Life cannot prove itself to you unless you are willing to make that jump. And there is never a higher authority than what you hear when you listen. Because that is what life is calling. For you to act, speak, think, feel everything, that everything gets to be aligned according to choosing to trust and allowing yourself to walk. The only other way to embrace the truth is to make it your hobby. And that's got nothing to do with surrender. It's not, I keep my safety on the side and then I can surrender in my free time. No.
It's not entertaining.
If you want to look at it, the only thing you're doing right now is actually you're manipulating things. You're keeping a position that someone else is supposed to be in and grow by. You're keeping yourself from growing as well.
Is it ever possible to do both? Isn't there a halfway ever after?
Come on, Mama, don't take it so seriously. It's just fate.
Choice.
No, it's not.
That's what
Because
it
there,
looks like.
yeah,
It's impossible.
yeah. But there's no choice to be made now, is there? If you listen, the only way you can make up free choice. But is there really any choice? You just have to do what you have to do, don't you? And face the fears that comes with that.
But there's avoidance, that can last. You can drag that out endlessly.
Sure, that's your choice. That's your free choice. But that's what I'm saying. That either there's dedication to truth or there is dedication to be someone living a life. No, it's not both. It's either. One or the other. And so the hell what? We cry our tears and we face our fears and we walk and we walk and we walk. And as we walk, life takes over more and more and more and more because we learn to not object to it. It's actually a funny thing, because that idea of safety, it's all a mind trick.
It seems that it requires a certain amount of willingness to be uncomfortable. And for me, I've experienced a lot of physical body pains, let alone the going into the fear and the grief and the anger and rage and all the physical sensations that brings. Just, we're talking emotions there, but then there's, I've also experienced the added other physical pain that injuries can bring, and so it requires a willingness to feel and to go into that. And so I resonate too, like I want to be comfortable, I want to be safe, and yet I find that as I go into things, eventually it gets more comfortable. It's like intense at first, but I don't know, it takes trust to know that I'm not going to die, or like the pain isn't going to be so intense. Like it's really annihilating feeling, and I want to be comfortable, but I want truth too. So yeah, I'm kind of in that middle ground too. I want to do both.
It's funny because in a way you could say that the only thing it requires is that we have absolutely no preference. That we come to see the sameness in everything. Because I can say when it comes to integration, there are lots of phenomena which will pass over the body and the body space. And for someone it's not comfortable, but if there's just the willingness to be in this moment, where, okay, can I stand to be here now or not? If that's like the only choice, that the choice is now, then it doesn't really matter. But the moment you start involving future, and it's like, okay, if I get a feeling, can I handle the feeling? Yes. But if I start thinking, can I handle this feeling for like 2 weeks, or like the moment you start putting future in there, then it can seem like, whoa,
Yeah. Good point.
But if we can give up this thinking in time, if we can give up the whole idea of the someone living a life, because the someone living a life, that constitutes time. And time doesn't exist. It's all in our heads, because we create a future and we have like this idea of a past, But if we give up that part and just face what's here right now, then when you say this about like the diving into the feelings and all of this, you can even say it's more like just stopping the running away from them. It's not doing something, it's just stopping doing what you were already doing, which was not facing its total responsibility, the reality of being you right here, right now. Yeah.
And I'm seeing how it really, for me, really requires simplifying everything.
Yes.
And clearing the plate so that I can actually be with what's coming up.
Yes. Definitely. The simplification is it's such a thing, and we're living in a world where the options are just growing and growing, and it's like, and if we start thinking about what we want, it's nothing but an invitation to that complete confusion. But if we listen what we need instead, that's totally different. Because then it is very simple.
That feels so true, and there's a part of me that's like, oh, you mean I can't keep dreaming and wishing and wanting and, and maybe assuming that won't be the same as my needs at a certain point, that those won't converge or you know what I mean?
Yeah. In a way you could say that there is an education, a maturation of your being that happens. in the dedication to truth, you will see your taste buds twist. Like that which you before wanted in a lesser state of dedication. You won't want that. Even like 3 months from now, if you are being with dedication, that will twist and twist and twist. So you will find yourself actually seeing the complete alignment between the wanting and pure will. The pure will in you, which is the will of your heart. And that is what happens through dedication. So trying to move from a point of like wanting to get this or that. I mean, it's just less important, It's just, yeah.
It's maddening.
It's what?
It's maddening. Because then you're like out here and trying to get and manipulate.
It's actually very boring.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really is. In this, with allowing the wanting to drop, it cannot happen by fighting yourself. It's not about fighting the someone wanting in you. There's just this total relaxation into being, which gradually will allow the wanting to fall off. And it will remove the desire body, so to speak. And that doesn't mean that then I won't want anything. It's like, it just means, I mean, there might be a period where you don't want anything. But basically it just comes down to returning to the innocence of being totally happy with what's here right now. With the total appreciation in every moment, and not the appreciation for something, but the very joy of breathing, the very joy of being alive. Without the being alive being the cause of someone wanting or aiming at something. And then reaching that and then making up a new something that you can want. And then making that be the runner of life, yeah? But that total appreciation for breathing, for being alive. Yeah. But you're here because you want to be, and not because of what you can get out of it. Because you won't get anything. You lose everything.
It's ironic you say that, because there's a lot of times I've experienced not wanting to be here as well, and so, and yet it feels like that's part of what comes up to be present with, like, so, in some sense, like, yes, I still want to be here, and I'm doing being present, but it doesn't always look or feel that way, and it's easy to kind of get lost or deceived by the current thoughts and feelings and sensations that are coming up, and to just drop into being with that, it can be, it's like there's multi-layered experience going on.
Yeah, definitely. But in a way you can say that total yes to being here is the overruling of the outset, which is that from the moment you are born, you are busy dying.
Yeah.
That the outset of whatever comes into existence just fades away, like that recycling thing going on. Yeah. That there's a coming into being which makes being the constant, which makes the total yes the constant, and that agreement to be here. In truth, which means beyond the identification.
I'd like you to talk about the insatiable she.
Oh, you read the poem, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She's the very bottom line of enjoyment, isn't she?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. She's the very core key of integration, because she can never get enough in terms of widening, in terms of integration. And this is why integration takes a lifetime. Because if we agree to it, our arrival will happen through the entire lifespan.
Again and again
And again,
and
and
again
again.
and again.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's just like the hollowing out of that which, as the outset, is like just matter. Yeah. So that total transparency happens through every part of being. When that insatiable she is twisted and projected into someone, it becomes the wanting. But when wanting, the someone wanting has died, pure passion remains. And that pure passion is like an eternal fire, which always will invite deeper and deeper and deeper into itself.
Here.
Yes. Yeah, the human body as a vehicle is amazing. Amazing. But it is just that. It is a vehicle, you know? Yeah. Because the true experience of ourselves will be the embodiment of God. And not just into the body, but to this body. You know? The universal body. And the planet body. Yeah. That yes to allowing the clarification of everything also means a yes to clean up our shit. Yeah. If we can agree to do that, we can also agree to come to stand naked without it. Exactly. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Oh shit, I'm sorry.
It's from work. They just received your resignation.
I just forget it's there because I never use it. I'm so sorry.
It's fine. Let it go, I enjoyed it. Yes.
When I saw your website, I saw that I wanted to ask you about something I saw there. So there was a talking about 3 centers, the love and the emptiness of the mind. And then I had the feeling it was here. And I've been exploring that in my meditation.
Yes.
It's definitely a really different quality than the other 2 places, which are much easier for me to access. And it ties in a little bit to what you were saying about to her about the she.
Yes.
It's kind of the dark black place.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I was
It's fairly easy to embrace the the love, love and light. We can all go with that one, yeah. Yeah. For some, for the ones who are reluctant when it comes to life, the emptiness, real easy, yeah. Yeah. When it comes to clearing out and purifying, as in recognizing truth and becoming transparent in the lower realms. Then all of a sudden we have to deal with the creational energy. We have to deal with the sexual energy. We have to deal with that which is not rewinded back to its own innocence. And all of a sudden we stand with mud on our hands. And to deal with that is required. Our incarnation into the depths cannot happen without this. We can never come to recognize the deep wisdom which is involved with the clarification of this.
so in placing awareness there's a unraveling that kind of seems to happen and happen sort of in different dimensions within that one sphere. So kind of on its own, sort of some traumas and some also erotic energies and also just like earth.
Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very much earth.
And is it different for men or women, do you know?
Well, there is no such thing as men and women. And yet, when it comes to the access point and the ability to deal with the muddy stuff, that often is easier for women. Or I won't say it's easier, but it's like that which is the gift of women is also, well, when it comes to the clarification, it just means that while men have the option of running away from this, women actually don't. And that you can determine whether that's a gift or a curse. In certain moments.
Like this part helps, this part kind of shoots the safety of the love down into there. And this part stays out of the way.
But in a way you could say that the potential when it comes to the recognition of pure spirit and the transparency all the way down through existence is easier for women, but when it comes to the recognition of pure awareness, it's easier for men. So who is actually better off when we need to recognize truth through everything anyway? In this way I'm saying there is no difference between men and women, because the aspects and the pure potential of soul is the pure potential of soul. We just have, as a female body and a male body, we just have different entry points to it. We have different aspects, which seems to be the major threat, fear-wise. Because when the woman falls into herself, she falls into life. She carries the key to life, But same as the man, but he just has the key to space instead, as the primary essence. But that also means that when the woman is to meet up with the higher principle, with the basic space in which life exists, then she gets her mouthful.
She gets her what?
Her mouthful. But it's the same. It's the same with men, the other way around, Because that's the outset. If we have in the background the masculine essence as man and the feminine essence as female, well, then when we fall into ourself, the woman, she feels comfortable falling into life because that's her primary essence. But if we are to truly balance, to truly align, we need to equally acknowledge the opposite essence, and in meeting the opposite essence, we get it. Because all of a sudden, that which before had a background of self, I'm speaking as woman here, in terms of falling back, going beyond, beyond, what is beyond? We have the physical, we have the going beyond that, falling into life. So what we experience is that the deeper we surrender, the more of that life shows itself, the universal force. But when all of a sudden we have to recognize the higher principle than that universal force, when we have to go prior to God, then all of a sudden the fear shows itself, because we are no longer falling into something bigger. For the man recognizing his primary essence, he's falling into nothing, so that's where he's comfortable. But the moment that he has to surrender to life, he loses his breath. Yeah. There is nothing more scary to the woman than the simplicity of non-existence. There is nothing more scary to the man than the complexity of life itself. But Jesus, if we embrace truth with the willingness to totally investigate and turn every stone and take life for the gift and play that it actually is, there is the potential. But you see, we cannot do that if we at the same time are concerned about being the someone living a life. Yeah.
suppose that is? That it took the phone going off for there to be some, humor, play. That our idea of the sacred is so, there's not that much playing in that, right?
Wow, that's such a weird way of seeing it. It's like total play.
Yeah.
It's nothing but play.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but I can tell you why. I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's just the existence of self-importance. Yeah. 1 second. In our movements, we do ourselves a great gift when we start catching ourselves in anything which goes with self-pity or self-importance. Because that is the total waste of our life energy. Either of these. Self-pity, self-importance. It's like we actually can be without any of them. And in that, Jesus, in embracing life, just never forget to laugh. It's a funny thing, though. When it comes to this with dealing with the whole thing, I mean, this is where the whole seriousness comes in, because there is a definite happening of taking life so seriously and taking truth so seriously. But the moment it becomes someone serious, it's off, But yet the dedication has to be so total, and that is equal to taking it seriously. So even if I can sit here and laugh with you, it still comes down to a dedication where you know that even when it goes up against that which you are like this with, that you take reality more seriously than any display you get, Yeah. But I mean, if we start making spirituality into the serious gesture and all of this, I mean, sure we can do that, but that's also just a game, Then it's just a serious game. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Hi.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
So the basic setup, basic circumstance of wanting what's pleasant and not wanting what's unpleasant. Sometimes it seems like that's all I'm spending my time dealing with, and even though I, have techniques for trying to be more present with what's unpleasant, sometimes it just seems like too little, seems like a band-aid, but I don't know, sometimes it seems like that's the basic challenge. Can you care to say about that?
It's like when we become obsessed with how we feel. It's kind of like in the surrender, the happening is an eradication of the self-center. But to start out with, we have this cocoon, where we take the inner reality so seriously that actually we start attempting to control, manipulate everything according to this inner reality. But actually the only thing that's happening there is that seeing, which is completely to the point, is like captured by turning itself towards the self-center. And right there, a releasing of that self-occupation is what is actually called for. Because right there, you actually start, it sounds opposite, it sounds paradoxical, because what you actually need to do is to start seeing it for the way it is, but without putting the weight into it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah.
At least
Yeah,
here and
yeah.
occasionally.
Yeah. It's just like, as the outset, instead of being like this, like the hunter's eye, they're like fixed on something. And then being afraid of what you will experience as this point within your sphere, within your self-center. The letting go itself is that which will release all of the occupation with your own separate experience. So there's a call for surrender there. There's a call for letting go. There's a call for a full taking of responsibility for not navigating according to trying to run with the controlling one. Yeah. 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 Man, I'm out of tea.
Maybe some more hot water.
What?
You want some more hot water?
Well, I would like some more tea if I can.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah?
Huh?
Thank you.
What time?
Oh, whatever. The only thing needed for satsang. Tea.
Essential.
Essential. The universal. Essential. The human being is fear-based as the outset. But the moment you know this, instead of identifying yourself with your human being, you can actually start dealing with it the right way. Where you start making the choice from a different place. Where you start making the choice of passing beyond those fears. Of constantly what was I saying?
Passing beyond your fears, you can make the choice.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You can make the choice of constantly letting life do what it does. Because life is always in movement, and either it is contracting or it is expanding. And whether it does one or the other is up to you.
So I hear you saying that I'm thinking about the integration piece and how it almost sounds like there's a difference of feeling the fear from within the fear, the human body, as you said, and what maybe you're suggesting is like feeling it from a different place, maybe like a contact point, or is that how you would say it, or is that?
It's kind of like the choice is always to move according to fear or oppositely. But if we allow life to play itself out according to the fear, then life will be continuously contracting itself. But the moment that we choose, and when I say love, please don't make it into some kind of emotional like something. When you choose the yes, when you choose life, when you choose yourself, the real you, instead, then all of a sudden the only thing you will see is that you overstep these fears bit by bit by bit, and you just see the expanding movement instead. And to start out with, as long as you still have the option of identifying yourself, then you will find a new self and a new self and a new self and a new self and a new self. But at some point in time, and well, specifically it's not about time really, but I could say after the real awakening happened here, despite the falling into the God consciousness, when there was the passing beyond existence into pure awareness, and then life started happening again. After that part, identification wasn't possible anymore. So there isn't even like a solidification as a new self and a new self and a new self. There's only life happening.
So as far as still feeling and experiencing fear, it sounds like you're not going into it as much and therefore getting identified, but maybe you're still experiencing it in a certain, or you said kind of a skip, not a skipping over. I guess I'm wary of bypassing it and then actually not doing any good there.
In a way, it's not about, when I speak like this, it's not that start focusing on fear, because the fear is nothing in itself. But to the extent that this ghost thing is running as if it's something, then the part of listening, hearing what needs to happen, and allowing the happening is that which will show you whatever fear was there. But if you just stay with the listening, and you take full responsibility, as in, because that responsibility is everything. It's not just about listening. It's not like, okay, what can I do other than listening? You can respect what you hear. Yeah? Yeah.
I find that when I have this listening, and when I know that it's coming, the divine is bringing it to me, it's just gratefulness. And when I have that gratefulness, and when I remember to say thank you.
Yeah. That willingness to listen is everything, isn't it? Because it's being in the state of surrender.
But somehow I need the thank you to remind myself that that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, an agreement to let that die, which is stagnant. Yeah. It's just like letting the belief die, that which believes in itself. And yet to let pure knowing remain. So that it doesn't come down to someone believing in him or herself, or someone not believing in him or herself. But even greater stillness than that. We go beyond this need to identify ourselves as something or even as nothing, then all of a sudden you will see a cultivation of truth happen through these three dimensions of being. And it will shift and twist and turn exactly as it pleases, and it doesn't matter. It simply doesn't matter. Because we know that any display that comes is just a display. Coming to that place of being able to be without believing in anything. It's freedom. Yeah.
I think I've heard two references to these three centers, and you just talked about three ways of being. Can you quickly describe that? I didn't read your website before I arrived.
Are we back to the repetition? Well, basically, we have three portals through the human body through which we are to recognize truth. And when truth is recognized through the headspace, it is recognized as pure emptiness. Thank you so much. Whoa. Amazing.
I have some mad inside.
Yeah. The recognition of pure awareness, the absolute, that which is prior to God. Yeah. That is when we pass beyond existence. And it happens through the center of the head. Whenever we purify existence, purify consciousness, it's an up and down movement. The recognition of pure awareness is a movement that way. It's an exit from existence through the very center of your head. Yeah. So the recognition of pure awareness is just like a light bulb turned on in the head. It's just like, it's a complete still point, but it's absolute intensity. Absolute intensity. Absolutely unmoving. It is, but it doesn't exist. In our embrace of truth through the heart sphere, we recognize and realize the pure self, self-realization. Real awakening, self-realization. When we recognize the self, it's the same as being itself. It's the same thing as the recognition of ourself as God. This happens through a complete falling into life itself, which is pure fire. A fire which burns away our ignorance and anything in us able to make a separation between us as anything apart from anything else. It's a recognition of one being. But it's also absolute intimacy with that one being, which is yourself. So this happens through the expansion of consciousness, purification of consciousness. Falling into the absolute emptiness of non-existence, empty nature of all things. Here, love, pure life. And this recognition comes together and gets to enter into the third dimension. This third dimension actually reveals the earth wisdom. It's an actual incarnation as God in human flesh. God doesn't give a damn about being God. What it's recognized as within perception itself is black light. We have the arrival of every layer of existence, every dimension of existence right here. Because there is no longer an existence within the human realm. It's being here, but it's not being human. This deepening into the gut is equal to entering so deeply into the ground that you come to see the planet as your body as such. And you get to pass from here, pure emptiness, here, knowing yourself as God, and entering deeply into here is actually just like the incarnation, the arrival, your arrival. Emptiness, fullness, incarnation. Yeah? Okay. The saint, one who has realized here. Saint, yeah? We have the good morals, we have the the goodness, the kindness. We have things like compassion, all of this. When this is not just this, saint, sage, yeah? The sage, yeah, mountain-like quality. But when this flips down, we have the Siddha, yeah? The Siddha.
Siddha.
Yes.
What's the meaning of Siddha?
It's the one to whom all of the secrets of this life, this planet, and this existence is revealed. The one who's realized here, really loving, yeah? The one realized here, mountain quality, dead serious. The one here, always laughing. With the incarnation, you really get to be with the joke of it all. Creativity takes a whole new, like prospect. Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
To this same subject.
What?
The same in the same line that you're talking. The integration. Is there anything that one can do other than get out of the way? For instance, if you have, awakening and you have the opening, but it does not seems to be, incarnation, environment.
Yeah.
It's up to grace.
Hey, careful here. It's up to grace. It's fine at a specific point, yeah? Which is true. But you have to see that when it comes down to it, there is the re-emerging as you from the completely conscious point. And that means being willing to embrace the fact of you being equal to inexhaustible power. As long as you are afraid of this power and make yourself once removed, the surrender to the heart, all of this from the egoic point of view, from the identified point of view, it is like get out of the way, But at some point that flips over. When this has flipped over, that surrender, it's like from the identified point of view, you're falling into something bigger. But when all of a sudden the self-center is gone and the self, the rim of the self, which is growing and growing, has been burned away, then there's only you left, right? So even within your conscious mind, you have to come down to it, and you have to come to terms with the fact that you are the inexhaustible power. You are pure power.
Conscious mind, but at some point it's almost there is not even a construct there anymore, like as a personal self.
But
So
you have to
it's
see
almost-
that all of this is mind. Please don't talk about mind as the brain, just. In recognizing pure heart, you recognize all of this to be your heart. All of this to be your heart. In recognition of pure mind, you recognize everything to be pure mind. But in recognition through this sphere, you will come to experience everything as pure power. The extent of electricity between your cells is just like the whole construct of the body image according to the dimension of realizing truth through the stomach is this pure power. So it's just like seeing yourself as that black light, as electricity, this electricity which is like zzz between your cells. Yeah.
Is there an order that usually happens, or it can come?
There are as many journeys as there are people.
Yes,
This is also why a teaching as some kind of construct is complete madness. It's not possible. It doesn't mean that one person who walked through cannot sit down and make his or her particular path into a teaching, but no one was ever meant to walk the exact same path as someone else, because there are as many paths as there are people. Yeah. Which again points back to the significance of your listening. Listening to the authority of your being through your being. The greatest fear we have as human beings is that part of allowing the embrace of pure life to happen, but having to deal with that which wants to rise out of the innocence, that which wants to grab life and make it mine. Yeah. That's where we really get, the battlefield of truth stands within our own beings. Seriously. It's never about the world. Because anything which falls into place and alignment within yourself is reflected straight into your living reality. So it's always about dealing with that in you which is willing and able to play games. Anything which is tempted to rise into existence as something, as identified as, and so on and so forth. And no one knows how many shots there are in that cannon of identification happening. But it doesn't really matter. You've come here to pass every obstacle within yourself, to allow the full potential of being, of your being. And to fall into full appreciation of both the hardship and the joy that is revealed in that. But to truly realize truth in a way where there is no difference between inside and outside. We need to deal with everything which is willing to step into manipulation within our own beings. And right there, it's not something we can just go and do on our own. We need to deal with our relationship with ourself, with the world as ourself, within that as well.
You should say that again.
Rewind.
Deal with everything.
There are aspects of reality that can be only realized by yourself. But there are also aspects of reality which can only be realized and recognized in your dealing with the world.
You said something about recognizing what is within you allows manipulation or something like that.
Anything within you which is able and willing to rise as manipulation. Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah, it is. Because it's also that part which within existence creates ego and more ego. Or the opposite.
Thank you, I needed to hear that.
Yeah.
I'm wondering about the times that we live in. I have this this vision of Ramana Maharshi walking around his sacred mountain every day. And that mountain is now turned into a slag heap.
Into a what?
A slag heap.
Slag heap, what, trash?
And there's children on top of it rummaging through the trash. It just strikes me as the difference I feel between this time, not to say that there weren't always awful times here on Earth. It just seems so pervasive, the way things are falling apart in many different ways. And some spiritual teachers would say, you know, this is a time of grieving, and we should all be grieving deeply. Some spiritual teachers say, it's none of your business. So I'm curious as to if you have anything to say.
What do you say?
I know it's a setup, but I just find it to be something that, for me, takes a lot of energy that I'm giving to this. You know, it's something in my mind, it's something in my heart, and the compassion for what I see can be kind of debilitating in a way, you know. So if I sit in meditation, I'm just fine, you know, everything's perfect. Or if I'm just working in my own little world, everything's fine. So, anyways, there we go.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you a new version. And when I say this now, you have to see as well that it is not for the planet, but it's for you. It's time to clean up. Sit down and grieve. You can do all you want. Won't do you any good. Clean yourself up. As you start attending that which needs to be done, and that happens through your listening. When you attend to that which needs to be done with absolute joy, then the span of your heart, as it is purified, is just like an expansion and expansion and expansion. When I said this about the incarnation, it's just like having to swallow up the pain of the whole planet in one go. But if you have realized yourself to be the universal force, it's not a big thing. If you still think you're a human being, it seems like a big thing, yeah? Yeah. So in walking with determination, without allowing fear to determine your steps, but by listening to your heart and allowing yourself to walk by that, by allowing your wants to turn the way of the pure heart, of the pure will, then all of a sudden it's about what life is getting out of you, isn't it? And that's the turning of the consciousness that needs to happen. What I sincerely invite you to do at the same time as walking these steps is to be really quiet up here. Because in terms of the expansion of consciousness and the purification of you as pure life, there can be an invitation to start making something out of it up here. But if you are quiet, then it's different. Because it was never about someone saving the planet. The moment that you up here tell yourself someone's saving the planet, you're tripping. In a way you could say, luckily there is enough mess for everyone here to be purified. When you surrender and allow life to happen, love to happen through you, right there is the chance of the purification of your heart. And that is what will cause the expansion of your heart space to the eradication of ego on this level, in this dimension. But you choose your openness. And when you are open, allowing life as in you to go full force on whatever is that which you can see that this is where I am in best use. This is where I get up in the morning and I don't waste my life all day. So doing what needs to be done, significant for the purification of heart. Because this is also what constantly becomes a reflection between the inner state of that serene purity and what is around you. When there is constantly the taking of responsibility for being true in every situation, right there, of course, the eradication of every game you're playing with anyone. The places where you can see that you're just like wasting your life, entertaining yourself, wasting your time, It's not why you're here. Not now. Since this is the state of things, then life itself is that which determines that this is not the time to run around and entertain yourself. Right? Yeah. So that willingness in itself is equal to, or that is what happens when surrender happens now. Because life, there is one life, and she always takes care of herself. So when you don't insist on being someone, then automatically she will move your arms and legs according to what she needs. Of course. It's not to make it into something romantic or into something grand. I mean, that one being is exactly the same as the ant out there, doing whatever has to be done for the, it's just one being taking care of itself, and this is what we call love. We can do that. If we want to romanticize it, we can do that. We can also just be straight about it and see that that one being is taking care of itself with absolute straightness, completely beyond the emotionality around it, because the emotionality is just the smoke of the ego. Yes? Cool. 1 second, I'm just going to do a few sips here. Okay, yeah.
Seems to me this differentiating between, I think you call it pure will, and something that comes more from what I call conditioning, or ego, or whatever. That can be really subtle. It seems to me that the ego can be so subtle that you can't really ever know. I think that I can feel attachments or fears, and so if I can see a fear associated with a behavior or something like that, or an attachment to an outcome, or a manipulation of somebody because I think they'll do something for me. I think I can see all those things much better than I might have 20 years ago. But it still seems like I'm always prone to not really knowing to act anyway. I still take actions, but that's very subtle. I just wonder if you can talk about that.
There's a link between the enlightened intent and the conscious being as you, which needs to become really solid. And to truly surrender to being a man of knowledge, action is very much a part of your game. And this link needs to be involved. The enlightened intent itself, I mean, life itself has an intention, and when we listen to this intention, then that which wants to play out can play out. What matters in this is that we are not afraid to make mistakes. Because the only way to lose this game is by not playing it. So to the extent that we can we hold back because we're not sure of this and that and the other thing, the will to investigate combined with the will to take the consequence of being you. And allowing the learning through that, because this is about your learning. This is about your learning. Yeah. Everything is about you.
I feel like I had a big shift about a year ago where I took action that had been putting off for a while. And I definitely like my life's about 10 times better than it was.
Yes.
So maybe that's simple. I mean,
It is that simple, isn't it? Taking responsibility for doing what needs to be done. The thing is that you're listening, it will become more and more and more and more and more accurate. And it invites precision into your living life. A precision which doesn't have room for all this dancing around, but where the listening becomes so immediate that the happening of life itself is that which controls your arms and legs. Where there's not the delay anymore. The delay of hesitation and is this true or is this not true? The analyzing, all of this. The hunch, moving simply on the intuition. The precision that comes out of this is that which will, just by looking, just by listening and looking is the same. And when you look at something, you can actually see how it is. Completely uninvested of how you would like it to be. But you can see how it is when you don't manipulate. And right there can be just a dedication happening effortlessly to allowing that to happen, which is happening. Because when I say there's no time, it's no joke. Everything is happening right now. And that means that with your intuition, you can actually listen into what is going on. Hi.
Hello. Pardon me for running with this thought, but a number of things you said today, when linked together, seem to be working towards an insight shift. And you talked about stopping to believe in that which believes in itself. And you talked about developing a link between your enlightened intent and your conscious self. And it's humbling to realize that there's a part of us, that which we call me, that doesn't want to wake up. It maintains its identity by the attachments to anything other than the truth.
Yeah.
And at some point, am I correct, there's just a revulsion with that identity, and you say, I'm through playing this, I'm through dancing in the illusion.
I'm through investing
words,
in the illusion.
How do you acquire the real impulse to realization? Everyone says they have.
They don't. Okay, you could say it like this. The only thing we can ever do is our best.
The only thing we can ever do is our best.
Yes. And as surrender starts happening, our best will become better and better. So even if we stand from a point of not being able to make the distinction between what's real and what's not, right there, if we know that there are things, even if we don't recognize within our being which things that are to be cleaned up, the moment that we agree to let the cleaning up begin, everything will pop up. Everything will show itself.
Lovely. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's heartening to have the support.
One second. This time, in specifically, there is actually nowhere to run anymore. It's over. And that means that it's just about getting to it. And not really being willing to waste anymore. Not just time, but waste. Just waste. The movement of waste itself. There is something much more accurate, which is wanting and waiting to enter now. In one sense, you could say it's time to go to war and to be less concerned with living the comfortable life. Embracing truth is dancing on the razor's edge. It's a yes to constant learning. It's a yes to constant unbecoming and constant becoming. To learning what to let live and what to let die. To receive your true inheritance as truth in form. Yes. So who cares where you start?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what.
I said, so who cares where you start? Just get to it, you know? Yeah. In terms of the manipulations on all of this, it doesn't really matter. And I mean that in its most literal sense. It doesn't really matter what happens. But within that absolute carelessness is equal to total care. So being totally willing to take care of everything. Everything that has anything to do with you. This is where the doing your best is it. Always. And it doesn't matter in what situation, because life is constantly challenging itself through you if you allow it to. And that means that the capacity of you will grow and grow and grow. And thereby also your depth. We will wear down these shots of ability to identify ourselves. They do wear down. Takes some time, but they do. And just every time something rises as I am anything. I am God. I am right. I am wrong. I am anything. Yeah. To let the identification itself drop is that which over time and by the happening of love and that movement from the conscious point of doing our best, constantly allowing life to move us forward. That's what makes the option for everything to come together as the realization of God, nothing, and incarnation as well. It's a hell of a potential. Mm-hmm.
So aware of, as I can begin to speak in presence and make this transition, and I'm so aware of the people in my life and the relationships that I've maintained with this identity and just the tenderness that comes as I'm growing and changing and seeing my family and the ways that they're stuck, or my friends, and at a certain point it seems like there's sort of anytime one of us changes, there's this invitation to everyone else around to change as well, and often it's not always at the same rate, or so I just wonder if you would share your own experience with that journey. And
sure.
Yeah.
I can say that the very context of family has had to be completely broken down. Because the idea of family as the ones that we share blood with is it's very illusory. It's very conceptual. And it's very, it basically rides on the whole survival thing. But I can say what I did with my family. First, I blew it all to pieces, and And then I started dealing with the pieces. Because if you stand with this context of a family and then you enter in there, it's just like, you know. But if you step out of that context to rest in yourself, and then you start meeting these bits and pieces, then all of a sudden it's different, because then there is no family, or then everything is family, you know. So then all of a sudden you have one human being, you have one heart that you're standing in front of, and right there to allow the honesty. And I can say that the biggest job I had in that was the clearing out of the relationship with my parents. Because that illusion, that goes as far back as it comes, you know. It's like from day one in this body. Yeah. And it was a lot of work, specifically with my mother. Because she was a real mother, you know, with everything that goes with that, including the manipulation and the umbilical cord and like all of this that just had to energetically be like cut so we can meet straight. And it took more or less 3 years to completely nail that in me, which was able to dance with her in terms of popping up as her daughter. So again, we're back to the cleaning up part, yeah? So entering into that equation, being torn down, and then, okay, purifying, okay, stronger now, okay, back. And then allowing the purification to happen that way. And in a way where, when it was no longer possible for me to appear as the someone that they created, then actually the reflection was so total for them that I got to like meet my mother's mother, you know, the mother. Not the mother, but like my mother. In all of her amazing manipulating glory of the blaming and the like. Yeah, I mean that whole contract that we sign as kids, you know, we come into this world in these like tiny bodies and we basically have to sign up for a guru somewhere. So it becomes our parents, you know. And we sign this contract that says, okay, I do what you say if you take good care of me. So this contract, it needs to be torn. Because right there, we can start meeting as pure souls, and it's an entirely different beauty there. All of a sudden we meet in reality, you know. We don't meet in the play or the game that we've been.
You found that she met you there eventually once you fully cleared and met her there.
Yes.
Yeah. Just naturally.
Now she is like this.
Yeah.
Yes. But as I say, it takes cleaning up. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Can you go into detail when you say, okay, you see the game and then you back off and you purify? What do you mean by purify? What's that process that you do?
It's like, as long as there was anything within me which could pop up. The thing is that I come as myself, I come in that total openness, yeah? Not now, but back then when it was happening. And then anywhere from within me, like even like down here, had to know the reality of myself, to not respond to her from that part of the someone being her daughter. So I had to completely dissolve the illusion of myself as a human being, basically, but in that, her as my mother as well. You understand? It's like I had to come so completely to rest as being myself, that when I was around her, even if she is like not up, not realized here or there, or not really able to meet me anywhere, wherever, it was just like that which was used to it's kind of hard to explain, but it's like you have to go completely beyond opinions, for instance. You know, we don't meet in opinions. We're not supposed to meet with shared opinions. Fuck opinions. You know, so even for yourself, you have to move beyond your opinion. You can't meet someone truly from a place of opinion. We meet in truth. And truth is beyond opinion. So that which before was adapting to the opinions of the parents or whatever, I mean, it goes down, it's really subtle, you know, and it has many layers. And it's just like peeling an onion in a way. But there is a middle of that onion. And there is a lot of that part of coming to the total recognition of yourself as everything involves the part of losing your mother, you know, of course.
Can you switch it? Can you be the mother? Because it's the maturity of the child is also at issue. You know, from the other perspective, there's a pulling of need. You know, so is it opinion that I want to address the need with my daughter? I mean, she comes to me wanting things from me, and but not wanting, needing, you know, and if I don't.
It's a funny thing, it's a funny balance. Because there is that part in you which wants to be there for her. That part needs to die. The actual part of being what she needs does not come from wanting to be what she needs. Because anything within that is likely to manipulate. So that's the mother in you. Yeah? You need to kill her.
Some that is just wanting to hold and comfort, you know, it's not, is that...
Just as the outset, just so everyone knows, there's nothing wrong with anything. Wrong is not a button on the universal dashboard. Just so we're clear. Yeah. So within that, you can say, when it comes to truth, there's nothing wrong with, and so on and so forth. But when it comes to truth, if you would like to purify that connection with her, there is the part of you being so quiet that there is the responding when there is a call, yeah? But completely beyond anything in you manipulating to do things which would not allow her to grow by her own means. Yeah. In addition, I mean, I haven't met your daughter, so I don't really know, but there are the people who are refusing to take that own responsibility, refusing to cut the umbilical cord and to actually come to rest in their own beings. And if that's the case, you can be playing mother forever. So if you want a straight relation with your daughter, you need to see where is her stuff playing and where is it just fitting with my stuff. You know? So if you could take care of her, of your stuff, all of a sudden she will have to face her stuff. And that's actually the greatest gift you can give her. Because right there she will have to grow into her own. She will have to come into her own. And then you can say, then what's the real mother? Is it the mother that keeps on feeling the bird in the nest which can actually go and fly? Or is it the bird that pushes the kid out of the nest when it's time, you know? So you're going to have to look into your relation there to see how it can become clear, straight. Yeah. But what you have to see in this also with needing and wanting to be there for what she needs, is that you have to see that there's an umbilical cord in movement here. And that you have to face the fact of losing your daughter. I have a son as well, so we can talk about this as well. Yeah. 11. Yeah.
How old was he when you started waking up really clearly, drastically?
1. Yeah. Yeah, he grew up, he has something different in his knapsack than everyone else, that's for sure. Yeah. But it also meant that in being so totally with whatever is needed, that there was a point where we had to separate, because there was a need for him to be protected from that which can only be without ego here, because he needs to build an ego. Yeah. Became very obvious. He lived with me for the first 6 years of his life. But the moment he had to start school, it was over. The energy shift between having to go to school and become someone, and then that total openness of being by my side, it was just, yeah. So he had to start building his ego at 6 years old. So now he lives with his father, simply because that's what he needs.